I'm coming from, that there has to be a recognition that there is a problem, in which case perhaps we need a radical, out-of-the-box solution. Bringing in an outsider will hopefully provide new ideas, new perspectives, new insights in the way. As I said, we can bring in initiatives, not only from other countries, but also from the private sector to help in the system. As I said, part of the problem, I think, is that the courts of the past have been reluctant to accept constructive criticism. They have been reluctant to work with other stakeholders. I think that has to be changed. As I said, things are changing. We look at the 1987 Constitution. When that was passed, at that time, there was no cell phone, no internet, cable. There were only 5 channels, I think. 25 years later, our lives have changed. I think that the court should also change hand in hand with what is going on in society. So, to my mind, an outsider can provide a breath of fresh air into the workings of the court.
Andy, how many cases are pending before the Supreme Court for and in behalf, for and against the PCGG, do you think?
65 po.
And how do you think that you will maintain your integrity, your probity and independence as a PCGG commissioner right now and after you become Chief Justice, God willing?
I will inhibit po from the PCGG cases.
Do you think that matter of inhibition is sufficient to address judicial independence then?
Well, to be honest though, I would think, okay, that just because I was PCGG chairman should not automatically mean that I should inhibit. But again, if you look at it, and so as to dispel any doubts or to dispel any accusations of partiality, perhaps the more prudent action would be to inhibit if and when those cases are heard.
One final question, Chairman. You mentioned that during the Marcos administration, the court was timid. However, now that it has become aggressive and sort of an activist, could you cite at least 3 decided cases where you think that the Supreme Court has overreached and perhaps violated the political question doctrine?
Top on my list is the Manila Prince Hotel case, wherein a Malaysian investor won the bid in a closed bidding, but the Supreme Court overruled the bidding and awarded the case to a Filipino group, saying that, again, apparently under the Constitution, in terms of properties that have a national or historical significance, that these should belong, that they form part of the national patrimony and therefore should belong to Filipinos. Of course, we all know that even if Malaysians own the Manila Hotel, they cannot bring Manila Hotel out of the Philippines. Second, there was that case of Garcia versus Board of Investments. Okay, this is a case involving a petrochemical plant, wherein the investor wanted to move their investment from Bataan to Batangas. But the governor of Bataan did not want such a move because it would impact the revenues of the province. The Supreme Court again interfered with the decision of the investor and allowed granted the petition of the province of Bataan and therefore was able to stop this investment from happening, in which case, instead of the Philippines being able to attract that investment, this investment went elsewhere. And again, also with respect to some of the political cases, for example, the case of Estrada versus Arroyo, I wouldn't have decided it that way, in the sense that that to me was a classic political question doctrine case. Why are we going to force the issue as to whether or not President Estrada resigned? To my mind, as far as I'm concerned, at that point in time when the court was called to make that decision, he was no longer in power. The cabinet already had abandoned him. The diplomatic corps already recognized a new president. Why does it have to be that the court has to go and sort of like decide on merits and sort of like try to argue that there was indeed a resignation when the person himself said, no, I did not resign? So there are certain cases wherein I think it is better if the Supreme Court should take a back step and just allow things to happen as they are. They should not see themselves as the solvers of all the nation's problems, because that is not the case. And as I said also, I think they have to recognize their role, given that, again, within the scheme of things in a democracy, elected representatives are of a higher status than unelected representatives.
And that will be all for the aspirant. Mr. Chairman, thank you, Andy. Good luck.
Thank you also, Secretary. Now, Congressman Tupas will now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Officer, Justice Peralta. Good morning, Dean Andy.
Good morning.
Kanina natanong na yung gusto ko itanong yung age, diba? Kasi nakikita ko dito, 48 years old. Kayo po, no? Batang-bata.
Pero mas bata po kayo sa akin.
Mas bata ako. Pero kanina nasagot nyo na raw, ang sagot nyo ay age doesn't matter. Diba?
At saka ang sinabi ko rin po, dapat may term limit. Pati sa judiciary. In the same way, may term limit sa executive at legislative, dapat may term limit na rin ang judiciary.
Meron nga 70 years old.
Hindi, ang sinasabi ko po, 7 and 70. You only serve, because if you look at our constitutional commissions, COA, Civil Service, COMELEC, 7 years, tama na po yun.
Pero hindi kasi mangyayari yun ngayon At this time, hindi mangyayari yung term limit pag ikaw yung ngayon, nagde-deliberate tayo. So, ang question ko lang.
Sinabi ko rin po, ako'y handang mag-sign ng waiver.
Ilang tao? 7 years lang?
7 years lang, tama na po yun.
Okay. Pero 7 years, matagal rin yun. Kasi considering na may mga justices tayo incumbent ngayon, na 2 years na lang magre-retire sila. Diba? Yung iba 4 years. At tinatanong ko lang ito because I think para sa akin, siguro yung ibang members din, parang naging open ngayon yung proseso sa outsider. Ngayon meron na pagkakataon yung outsider. For a long time, parang seniority yung tinitingnan. Pero because of anong nangyari, tinitingnan na rin ngayon yung outsider. At least ako, tinitingnan ko yon. So, yung age naman na 48 years old, kahit pagpalagay natin 7 years mag-waiver, mag-sign ho kayo ng waiver, assuming na gagawin nyo yun, matagal pa rin ho yun. At mababypass yung iilan. Kasi alam naman natin And I am sure, tao lang naman yung mga ito Di ba may pangarap rin at saka ang iba naman gusto rin mag-Chief Justice kasi gusto rin makatulong sa ating bayan. So, paano mo nakikita ito? Assuming na ikaw nga yung ma-appoint, no? And youngest Chief Justice. And kahit hindi 22 years kayo mag-serve, pero 7 years lang. Paano nyo i-unify yung Korte Suprema? Especially yung mga senior doon na yung masasapawan sila. So, yun lang. Very short. I just need very short answer to that.
Well, tama po yun. At sinabi ko nga kanina po na sa aking palagay, all things being equal, dapat insider over outsider. Except that we are in a peculiar situation. Alam niyo po kasi nga, kung ikaw papasok, at nangyari na po ito sa aking mga ibang naging trabaho, kumbaga, kailangan nga medyo sensitive ka sa mga ganitong klaseng issue. So you really have to earn the trust and the respect of these people. Pero dapat din po nilang ma-realize na kumbaga meron tayong constitutional framework at meron tayong rules and regulations. Kung itong taong ito ang nahirang ng Pangulo dahil sa listahang naibigay ng JPC, kailangan po yung respetuhin.
Ang tingin mo may unify mo rin pa rin yung... Kasi what we need now is yung parang figure na may status na stature na mag-unify ng Korte Suprema. Tingin mo ikaw yon?
Well, sa akin po palagay na kaya po, no? as long as people, I think, are professional in the way they deal with things, as long